What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Take Two. This is Take Two. I actually shot this one about 5 minutes ago, an hour long, and it literally, I realized that the camera was recording and the audio stopped. So I'm doing this again. Hopefully this time it works out. If not, I will actually be recording this from home because I'm not doing it again from the studio. Welcome back to another week of MMA and just in general combat sports. I mean, this has been the last couple weekends. We've been having boxing and MMA, boxing MMA. Usually it's a perfect storm, you know, when that happens for someone like me who loves combat sports. But last week was a little rough because you had Spencer Crawford colliding in with 291. And then this week was a little bit different because actually, believe it or not, the Jake Paul, even though that wasn't considered boxing to me, but Jake Paul and Nate Diaz kind of happened at a perfect time. So that kind of intertwined perfectly. You know, when you look at, last week, I feel like this is nothing but a big drama show. Like MMA has turned into a big drama show. I mean, it really has. From Twitter to the media outlets to the new content providers, like it's just one big drama show. And maybe in today's day, that's what people like. You know what I mean? Maybe they like more of the WWE drama, the behind the scenes. Like I remember, back in the day when I used to watch WWF as a kid, it was like all about Piper's Pit and Adrian Adonis and all like the little sideshows and the promos that they did. Like that's what it was kind of about. Then the matches were cool and everything, but it was really all about like the build-up, the drama that's going on behind the scenes and stuff like that. And it seems like, MMA has taken that turn, and it's not by their own admission. It's by, this is what the media, this is what this new breed of viewers like for whatever reason. They like the drama. Instead of really just appreciating the fights and allowing the fighters to fight their fight, to make to pave their way, to set their blueprint and go. And I do understand today's day and age is entertainment. You know what I mean? It's fighting / entertainment. You want to be entertaining, but at the end of the day, this card really solidified how much drama and how much people just really don't understand like the fibers of the fight game. Like what are they really there for? Are they there to entertain you? Yes, but are they ultimately there for a benchmark goal? Yeah, that's really what they're there for. If you guys play fantasy football like I do and a lot of us do here, you'll see some of these players come out and be like, dude, I don't care about your fantasy team. Like, I don't care about your fantasy team. I don't care about your wagers. I don't care about that. Like, I'm playing for something else. There's no different with these guys in the UFC. Do they want to have a fan base? Of course they do. Do they want to get recognition from you guys when they come out and make the walk? Of course they do. But at the end of the day, it's about wins and losses. And it really showed me, like, a good separation. Like, sometimes you get these moments in separation with, who's who in the MMA world. And when you get guys that came out on this fight that were doing nothing but bitching and moaning about Corey Sandhagans' performance, that's where you start realizing where the separations are. Like who the people who really understand the sport and people who don't. You know what I mean? Or people who've actually, been in corners and have done weight cuts and have seen how hard these guys work for, 8 to 12 weeks and has been involved in the camp, doing their nutrition, whatever part of the component that you were involved in. Maybe you were dating somebody who was a fighter, but whatever part of the component you were involved in, you wouldn't be saying these things if you actually were behind the scenes with these guys. Or even if you were behind the scenes with them once, you wouldn't be saying these things because you would realize, man, this guy, like, the amount that he put in for the last 8 and 12 weeks, like he got the W. Like that's what he was training for. All the pain, all the suffering, the fight before the fight. The fight happens before the fight. I hate to tell you that. That's when the fight really happens. The training, the injuries, the weight cutting. That's the fight. The reward is the night that you fight. So a lot of people don't comprehend this, and these are the moments that separate those people. The people who've actually been there and the people who've never been involved or never did a diet for somebody or never been sat in a camp for 8 to 12 weeks or maybe did a strength and conditioning program for them and saw did a weight cut and watched the way they were cutting weight, watched the way they were crying, watched the way they were struggling. Like they've never done that. They just look at it from the night on Saturday night when they sit down and they're eating their fucking popcorn, eating their pizza on their couch and drinking beer. And saying, well, that was terrible. Like, he sucks. He doesn't deserve a title shot. Like, he's terrible. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that because I like, if I can be the one person in the space that kind of shifts your mind a little bit on that, I want to be. Like, I want to be that guy who talks realistic expectations from you guys. Do you want entertainment? Yes. But you got to take it and put it into their perspective. It came out that Corey Sandhagan had some kind of bursitis in his elbow that apparently, erupted, in his fight in the first round, where Jason Herzog in the third round actually came out and said to him, like, "Are you okay? Is your elbow okay?" And he was like, "Did I really just let off? Like, I'm hurt." The fact of the matter is, if he was hurt or he wasn't, fighting cardinal rule 101 is take the path of least resistance. Take the path of least resistance. Okay, so if I'm a striker and I'm fighting a guy who's a grappler, but I know he's got zero striking, what the hell am I going to go grapple with him for? Why am I even to take a chance to go on the ground with somebody when I know as long as I can keep this on the feet, I am going to ping him apart, and I'm going to keep him away from me, and I'm going to keep him honest, and I'm going to just check, and I'm going to do what I can to win the fight. Why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I, if I go into a fight thinking I'm going to have one element that I'm going to use, and all of a sudden another one works out like this, and he just keeps giving it to me over and over and over and over again? Why am I not going to take that path? Why am I not going to take that path? But for the fans, I'm going to say, well, you know what? This is the easiest path, but I want the fans to be happy. So I'll risk standing for 25 minutes with a guy like Rob Font and possibly lose the fight for the fans. Let's do it for the fans. Get that out of your head. They need their fans. We pay their bills. I do understand that, but at the end of the day, this is wins and losses. And if you looked at that as an affliction against Corey Sandhagan, then what does that say, Rob Font? What does that say about Rob Font? That he couldn't figure out how to get out. What about when you got a guy pinned against the cage? Right, when you got a guy pinned against the cage and you're booing him. Don't you think you should be booing the guy that's back is against the cage because he can't figure out a way to get under hooks, pummel, and turn position? That's who you should be booing. You shouldn't be booing the person that is in his offensive progression, whether it's boring or not. He's the one with control. It's your job to get out. Figure out a way to get out. And Rob Font couldn't do that. He was accepting every takedown. He was accepting position. He wasn't shrimping away. He wasn't looking to get back to his feet. He wasn't working his way to the cage. He wasn't doing anything. Corey Sandhagan did what was given to him. What's wrong with that? I mean, these people that are literally coming out tweet after tweet and video after video, and I mean, give it a break. Like, what would you do? These people that are saying that, what the hell would you do? What would you do if you were going against somebody who had a dynamic striking game, a very solid striking game? You're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to go get my fucking face boxed out for 25 minutes for the fans. When I know I could take this guy down and I could lay on top of him and I could ride out a decision, or maybe he does something stupid that gives me something, and I'm hurt. So this is why you times like this separate who's who. It really does. It separate who's got realistic expectations, who understands the business, who understands the game, and who's just kind of a fan who's out for themselves. They don't put their mind in the actual stroke of the fighter and say, well, you know what? Yeah, it did suck. The fight was bad. It was a terrible fight. But at the end of the day, I understand why he did it. He did the right thing, but it just wasn't a good matchup. It wasn't a good fight. That's what should have been said. Not he's never going to title shot. He doesn't deserve anything. BMF this. But that's ridiculous. That's real child rudimentary talk when it comes to fighting. People throwing out, even Dana White walked out in the fourth round. I mean, yeah, he walked out. Of course he walked out. He's the owner of the company. He wants entertainment. He's not looking out for wins and losses. He don't care which way it shakes out. There's certain people that he wants to win, obviously, because for marketing reasons, but he just wants war. You give him war and he's happy. That's it. You give him war and he's happy. Of course he wants entertaining fights. If he can have a Stephan Bonner and Forrest Griffin every single fight from prelims all the way to the main event every weekend, you don't think he would sign up for that? Of course he would. He's the owner of the company. This is the guy who he's doing it for us. He's doing it for the fans. He's doing it for the money. He's doing it for the generation of money back. He's not doing it for listen, just get your wins and losses because no, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want you playing chess. He wants you going battles. He wants you to sink battleships. That's what he wants. So to even use him as an example is absolutely ridiculous. Next thing we had was Jake Paul, Nate Diaz. This is another fight where, look, you guys got to understand where it's coming from. Like, you got a guy in Jake Paul who you got to give him credit. You got to give him credit. Maybe you don't think he's a good boxer. Do I think he's a good boxer? No. But you got to give him credit for the mere fact that his team are geniuses when it comes to breaking down film, finding loopholes, and finding fighters that have big names, that are marketable, but they know that Jake Paul can expose. They did it again. Because you have a guy in Nate Diaz who, when, you know, the MMA community look at Nate Diaz, they're like, oh man, he's badass from Stockton. Nate Diaz, Stockton slap. He'll drown you with his boxing and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And in MMA, he does, because this just goes to show you how many guys aren't really good technical boxers in MMA. But when you put those boxing gloves on, it's a completely different animal. Those slaps don't work. The power's different. The punch placement's different. Like, you totally saw, people were shocked when they saw the way he was punching and boxing. They're like, what is he doing? What is he doing? He's throwing the fight. No, he wasn't throwing the fight in any way, shape, or form. He just does not know how to box. He doesn't have technical boxing. He never did. He does things in volume. He does things with pace and cardio. So when he's getting boxed up in the ring and in the cage, and all of a sudden he comes back and he's throwing these pitter-patter shots, and they're landing. You're like, holy shit, here he comes. It looks good. It looks like his boxing is crisp and on point, but it's really not. He doesn't throw with any power. He doesn't extend his punches. He doesn't catch you at the end of the punches. He kind of smacks you and pitter-pats you. When you got boxing gloves on, say that shit don't work. That don't work. You know, that doesn't work. So he looked the way he was kind of supposed to look. I said that if he lasted 4 rounds without getting cut, because he does have scar tissue buildup, that he might have a chance to kind of drown him late. You know, just with the cardio, just with the presser, But, and he started to do that. Like, at the end of the round, he started coming on, but he wasn't going to hurt Jake Paul. He wasn't going to hurt him. There was no way he was hurting him. You know what I mean? So it's like, they are geniuses when it comes to their matchmaking. They just beat a guy who was known in MMA as like this very good badass, good grappler, but also had good striking, will drown you with his cardio, drown you with his volume. But they didn't look at the other side of it, where he doesn't have good technical boxing ability. He doesn't have power. He doesn't have any of those things. He just has the ability to drown you with his cardio, with a flurry of pitter-pat shots that maybe change a level. Another thing people are going to understand is, there's no way out in boxing. There's zero way out. Where in MMA, you get Nate Diaz that gets rocked. He can change levels, take it down, uses jiu-jitsu. A wrestler, he gets rocked. He can, take it down. He can pin you up against the cage. The ref lets you go. Where in boxing, like, you're clinched up for a minute. He separates you. They can let you go. You can get your wits back about you. You can get top control. You can rest your head on his chest. You can do whatever you need to do. There's always ways in MMA to find the break and change the tempo of the fight. Boxing, you cannot do that. The same way you went in is the same way you got to come out. So if you get rocked on the feet, there's no double leg, there's no single leg, there's no entry, there's no pinning up against the cage, there's no, stalling for position, there's none of that. You have to box your way out. And that's another thing. So like Nate Diaz, in times where he would get rocked, he would change levels, or he would be able to clinch up with you, or you can't do those things in boxing. You could do them for a second. Your second, you clinch up with him, then the ref steps right in, separates you. Go, let's go fight. You do it again, that separates you. Let's go fight. Like, you got no choice. That's why it looks like when he fights these guys, it's checkers against chess, because that's what it is. Boxing is a science. People don't respect it enough. I mean, it's insane to me how people, when meanwhile, if you look at all the UFC champions, if you look at all the dominant champions, they win on striking. I mean, they went outside of Habib. Like, think about all the champions. Go through all the champions, even like the current champions. Think about it. Were they winning? Are they winning their fight on dominant wrestling, or are they winning their fights on boxing and striking? And they're winning their fights. Amanda Nunes, she's a great grappler, striking. Just anyone you think of, any champion you think of, it's striking. Outside of Aljo, like, you got Aljo, you have Habib, who was obviously a dominant champion. Even Cormier, great wrestler, but he boxed a lot. Like, Cormier boxed a lot. John Jones, he's another one. He's got the wrestling, but he does a lot of his stuff on the feet with striking. Francis, I mean, obviously a heavyweight, but still, like, you go down the list of champions, and the most dominant fighters are strikers. It's the hardest thing to learn. Like, in my opinion, striking is the hardest thing to learn. You know, so and when you're in a situation where you're dealing with a guy that's all he's doing, he's $500,000 a camp. Like, you're like, oh, big deal, he threw $500,000 a camp. But he threw $500,000 in his camp. Like, you can get a lot of good training for $500,000. You know what I mean? A lot. Like, I know, like, it doesn't say much, but when you spend $500,000 on your camp, and these guys are coming in and leaving no stone unturned, you don't got to be that good to beat someone like Nate Diaz. When that's what you're doing every day. When he's not doing that every day. You know, he's got a family, he's got kids, he's got other things going on. He's not doing this every day. So now Jake Paul's saying that he's going to fight Tommy Fury again, which to me is crazy. I don't know why he wants to do that again. He's fought one boxer in his life who was terrible, and he lost to him, and he wants to fight him again. I would like to see him keep on the same path, one more fight, and fight Masvidal. That's a fight I'd like to see, because I know Masvidal can box, and I know Masvidal can crack. That would be an interesting fight to see. I would probably be interested in seeing that fight. I'm no interest in Tommy Fury. You have Logan Paul coming back. He's apparently fighting Dylan Dennis. Dylan Dennis is Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is Dylan Dennis. They're both the same exact people. It's crazy, but they are. They're both the same exact people. Both of these guys call everybody and their mothers out, and they fight nobody. You know, Conor McGregor sits on the sidelines calling this one out. I want to fight this one. I want to fight that one. I want to fight this one. He fights nobody. Dylan Dennis, I'll beat this one. And they do it right after everyone's fight. I'll beat that one. I'll smack the ears off this one. I'll do that. He fights nobody. I don't think this fight happens. It's supposed to fight in October. Apparently, Logan Paul announced it. I personally don't think it's happened. I'll be shocked if it happens. If it happens, I would think Logan Paul would probably box the ears off him. In boxing this weekend also, we have Joshua versus Helenius as a replacement for Dylan White. Dylan White failed the drug test. Believe it or not, Ruiz threw his name into the hat for this fight, and they went with Helenius for this one, which is, you know, Ruiz was looking for that trilogy fight, but they went another way. So, I mean, he's got you know, puncher's chance like anybody else, but, you know, you got to wonder, you know, coming in on short notice. Joshua's a bit better, cleaner boxer. Helenius was knocked out by Deontay Wilder in, I think, round number 1 or round number 2. So who knows what we're going to get there. But and then the last thing I want to talk about before we get into the card is the Helwani versus Hill situation that's going on. It's crazy to me, this thing. Like, how times have changed is insane to me. Like, how man has changed in the modern day is absolutely insane to me. Can you imagine your father or your grandfather saying to each other, like you're sitting on the couch one day, right? And they're like, hey, Joey, hold on a minute. Dad's on the phone. And he's like, yeah. No. If you want to talk about it, you come on to my show. What do you mean I go on to your show? You want me to go on? No. You come on to my show, and we'll talk about it on my show. Like, really think about that. Really think about it. Then your dad's like, hold on a second, Joey. Stay there a second. I'm making this video, and I got to post screenshots of our text messages to show the world that, you know, doesn't care that you know, who's right and who's wrong. Like, what happened to, you got something to say? I'll be over there in 5 minutes. Or why don't you meet me over here and we could talk it out. We could talk it out. Or we could work it out. Like, what happened to those days? Those days are gone. But what you guys got to understand is, like, you guys are shitting on Ariel Helwani, and whether you like him or not, and I'm not a big fan of him. I'll be honest right now, and I'm entitled to say that. I respect him. I do respect him for what he's done. And I do think he's very, very good at what he does. He's very good at what he does. He's very well spoken. He's very calculated. He understands how to throw jabs with kindness. And he's much like a boxer with words. He understands how to set traps, throw feints, and bait you into these little firefights that are going to give him a little fire. And he started this ever since the Brendan Schaub thing. Like, ever since Brendan Schaub, the controversy came around, he kind of bit down on the mouthpiece and said, you know, now I'm going to start going in. I'm going to start showing people that you can't push me around. And he's been doing that. He's been coming after. He's been having and if I was an employer and I wanted to hire somebody, I would totally hire an Ariel Helwani for the mere fact that he's, like I said, he's very educated. He's very well spoken. He knows how to ask the questions that are going to stick you, but, like, he's nice about it. You never know if he's throwing digs. You don't know if he isn't throwing digs. He's very polite, but he's also evil. He curses when he has to. He pulls it back. Like, he's got a good mixture of everything. But the problem is these guys like Hill, who think they're going to come out and they're going to have a verbal war with Ariel Helwani, they're sadly mistaken. If he thinks that he's going to be able to come out and have a verbal confrontation with Ariel Helwani will bury him with kindness. That's how he does it. He doesn't say, well, screw you when you're going to do this. He buries you with intelligence. That's what he does. And do I condone him for doing it? No, I think it's a shitty thing to do. It's because I'm the type of guy that if I got a problem with you, I'm going to say, dude, I got a problem with you. But on the flip side, you got to look at Hill now. So this is a guy who came out when he put his first video out. I got to be honest with you, I was actually like becoming a fan a little bit of Hill. I was like, I like the way he's handling this. He's not handling this like one of these guys like, well, you know, here's my side of the story. Like he wasn't handling it like that. When he first shot his first video, like he literally came out of the gate and he was like, you know what, I'm going to let you know this right now. Like, I'm not Rampage Jackson. I'm not going to joke around with you. Like, you're going to eventually have to see me. Like, I'm not going to, I was like, you know what, I like the way he's handling it. That's the way you handle it. Then you leave it there. Because the fact of the matter is, Juan going to have to see him one day. He's in the same space. Like, eventually they're going to bump into each other. Eventually they're going to have it. But leave it there. You don't got to explain to anybody. You don't got to explain your side to anybody. Like, this is what he does. He baits you into these things, and he baited him in because right after I started respecting him, when my respect went up this way for Hill, it dropped like this in a second when he started posting pictures of text messages, and now he's engaging in this like pitter patter war, saying like I'm the only champ. Well, technically you're not the champ. I mean, because the fact of the matter is you won a vacant belt. That's what you did win. Now the belt is vacant again. So you're saying that whoever wins the belt now, they're not champion because they, like, what are you saying? So no, technically you're not the champ. So I don't know even know where that you know. Normally you got to beat the champ to beat a champ. So technically no, you're technically not the champ. In any event, I think it's ridiculous that people. This is where the media and where like people's focus has shifted to now. Instead of like, same thing with the Corey Sandhagan thing. Everything is drama. Everyone likes the drama. I don't know, man. Time is changing right before my eyes. I mean, that's the crazy thing. Time just changes right before my eyes. Every day something is new. Something is coming out. Something is, who's negative against Dana White? Who's negative against the product? Who's negative against MMA? Who's shitting on boxing? Who's shitting on combat sports? Like, what are you watching then for? Like, why do you watch? Why do you do this to yourself? What are you, like a woman? Like, you like the New Jersey Housewives? Watch that, then, if that's what you like. Like, we're here to watch great fights. By now, the people who have been in this space for a long time, you should know who the media outlets are that like to push the buttons. And you should know what, clickbait is. And you should know all these things, especially the fighters. The fighters deal with them more than we deal with them. We watch them, but they actually deal with them. They got personal numbers and they're text messaging each other back and forth. Like, handle it that way. Don't handle it like this. Like, this is the most prima donna thing. Can you imagine, like, if Hill was actually still the champion and he was dealing with this like this? Like, that's embarrassing to the UFC that one of your champions is actually getting into a pitter-pat fight with Ariel Helwani, exchanging text messages over their YouTube channels and saying, well, no, you know what? If you want to hash it out, if you want to work it out, you come on my show. Like, that's embarrassing, dude. As a man and as an owner of a company, that's one of your champions. So that's all I have to say about that. We're going to break down just the main fight because we took up a lot of your time. But before we do that, please like the channel, subscribe to the content, hit the notification bell. The more we put out, the more you guys engage with us, the more you guys show us that you're enjoying the content, the more we're going to put out. This is, like I said, this is fairly new, the whole YouTube end of it. We obviously invested in some good equipment. We're going to continuously putting out boxing, mixed martial arts, like everything worthy of the hardcore fan to listen to. But the more you engage with us, the more we're going to put out. My business partner obviously is not here today. He's got to be some meeting later on. So usually he is with me with a lot of the videos. But today I'm flying solo. But before we do go any further from here, I would like to throw out Christine Showdown's dog pick of the week. That I might add, she hit the Carlson Harris last week, which was Carlson Harris money line and by submission, which. I'm happy for her, and I'm also very upset because I thought I read that fight perfect. And within a second, of me like literally saying to myself like, this thing is over. It's just a matter of time before like the clock runs out. This is done. Carlson Harris finds like this weird submission. He just Wells runs into something and gets put to sleep. So I don't know, but congratulations to her. It worked out on her end. She has been on fire lately, and for those of you who don't know Christine, what she does is every week she goes into the fights and she picks her favorite dog, and then she messages it to me, and I give it to you guys. So this is her dog pick of the week. All right, guys, that is it. We have some good. We have a good schedule coming up. We have some boxing coming up. We got some MMA coming up. Obviously, MMA every weekend. Got football season rolling around, so we're going to be covering a lot of stuff. But like I said, please subscribe to the channel, like the content, hit your notification bell, and engage with us. Let us know what you think of the videos. Let us know what you would like me to talk about. If you want me to talk a little bit more boxing, let me know. If there's a certain fight you want to talk about, let me know. But there's a lot we can. There's a lot we can do together if you guys are interested. So let's jump into this card here. So you have, really only one fight to me that's really worthy of talking about, and that's really all I'm going to do. And it's a Vicente Luque versus Rafael dos Anjos fight. When you look at this fight, right, you're looking at two very similar styles in a sense. I look at Vicente Luque almost like a Rafael dos Anjos, just a younger version. A little bit younger, more barbaric type version, I should say. Rafael dos Anjos, this is a guy who, former champion. This guy has been around the block. This guy has fought everybody. He's extremely well-rounded. Fourth degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Very good Muay Thai, good boxing, good stand-up, unbelievable cardio. Lived in 5 rounds for a long time. Just a consummate gentleman, consummate champion, great athlete. He's a fighter. He's a picture perfect fighter, from many different aspects. He's not the greatest fighter, obviously, but he has everything wound. He's so well rounded, and he's a complete fighter. It's the best way I could put it. Rafael dos Anjos is a very complete fighter. On the same token, so is Vicente Luque in a sense. This is a guy who's got good striking. He's very durable. He's got high level grappling. He understands, range, understands distance. The problem I do have with him is he engages way too much in firefights. This is a guy who literally uses his durability as a weapon, and that's something you never want to do. Stemming back to the Corey Sandhagans situation, where it's not cool to take punishment. It's good for the fans, but where has that gotten Vicente Luque? So you guys want all these majestic fights and all these crazy fights. Where has it gotten Vicente Luque? It got him nowhere. Okay, he went on a 6-fight winning streak where he was submission. TKO, 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 TKO. Split decision. Then he loses to Wonderboy. Then he comes back, knocks out Nico Price, knocks out Randy Brown, chokes out Tyron Woodley, chokes out Vicente Luque. Then all of a sudden, boom, here he goes. Loses to Bilal Muhammad, loses to Jeff Neal, gets knocked out. So it's like, these wars, are they worth it? Are these wars really worth it? Or can you get to the same place by just getting the W and winning the fights? So Vicente Luque is a guy where you got to wonder after these 3 losses, is he the same guy after these wars? He's given us a lot of great fights. I remember the Barberena fight, as an example, what a fight that was, down to the bitter wire. He has great grappling, but he will only grapple really if you engage it upon him. He's not one that's going to look for your hips, take you down. He's not that kind of guy. He'd much rather stand and bait you into, let's see who has a better chin. Rafael dos Anjos does not really get into those kind of fights. He's been in wars. He's been engaged in wars, but he knows how to tie things together and kind of make you dance his dance. The one hole that I've seen in Rafael dos Anjos' game for a long time, though, is when he gets taken down, sometimes he tends to it's tough for him. His takedown defense sometimes isn't there. But for the most part, when you're fighting a guy like Vicente Luque, he's not really going to go there. He's not really going to go there. But Rafael dos Anjos is much better when he's in top control. He's really not a great back grappler from his back. But when he gets top control, good luck. Good luck, because he's got good wrestling, he's got good grappling, he's got good positional control. He's got, nasty setups for his submissions, very tight, very hard, power chokes. And his striking is very clean. He's got good kickboxing, good Muay Thai, good boxing, very slick, and his conditioning is very clean. Where I've seen Vicente Luque kind of drop off a little bit, right? I've seen him drop off a little bit in conditioning during his fights. And I've also seen him just look terrible in some of his fights, where Javier Dos Anjos kind of runs that steady state. But he's very like if you give him that one matchup with some like a guy like a Colby or something like that, that's just going to pressure him, he's going to lose. He needs some kind of space. You can't be pressure wrestling him because that's the one style that will beat him. But if you're the type of fighter, like even Chiesa, when he lost to Chiesa, he was taken down 6 times by Chiesa. You know what I mean? That's what won Chiesa the fight. You don't do that to him. You stay away from him and you kind of fight his fight. You're losing the fight. 9 out of 10 times he's going to beat you. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think Vicente Luque isn't really going to go looking for shots. I think he's going to try to trade with him a little bit. If anyone takes a shot, it might be, Dos Anjos taking the shot, trying to get some top control on him. And I just think later on in the fight, the conditioning, even though Dos Anjos is old and his wheels are going to fall off soon, I still think he has enough in the tank to win this one. So I'm going to go Rafael Dos Anjos by decision. So that'll conclude the show. I'm not going to run down this card. This card really is not that good. If you guys want the full content, the full breakdowns, all the wagers, please go to themadlabmma.com. You will get everything there. You get full breakdowns, private podcasts, live stream, fighter metrics for every fighter, DFS, you name it, we got it. We've got a private Discord that's amazing during the fights. We all just jump in there. We have a good time, talk shit to each other, throw out live bets. Really, really good time. So definitely themadlabmma.com. That's the place to be. And I will see you guys next week.